This episode is proudly sponsored by Podcorn. Tacos, as you may have noticed, we've gotten a few sponsors under our belts, and that's thanks to Podcorn. Podcorn is an amazing marketplace connecting podcasters to sponsorship opportunities, such as host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. Not only am I able to pitch to potential sponsors, but Podcorn has connected us with opportunities as well. Better yet, there is no middleman. We collaborate directly with brands, and podcasters of all audience sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform and set their own rates. Podcorn is here to support us at every step to ensure that we're protected and compensated for our work that we do for our brands. Podcorn is perfect for us because of the transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize. If you're also a podcaster, click the link in my show notes to sign up for Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities. 1 in 3 women have experienced sexual assault, and 1 in 6 men. Think about all the women you know in your life. 1/3 of those women you know have been sexually assaulted, and you don't know their stories. So many times our mothers, aunts, sisters, daughters, nieces, and friends don't share it because of the unnerving shame worn like a scarlet letter. That's why women so often keep it to themselves, because when women do speak out and tell their story, it's often met with backlash, pointing the blame at her instead of the assailant or rapist, who is just being a guy. I am one of those 3 women, but tonight we are not talking about my story, but the story of Daisy Coleman, who was harassed, stalked, and run out of the town that should have supported her. The beautiful, brave, and inspiring Daisy, this one's for you.
Tonight we have a special episode because Nicole's going to tell it for us. So make your daddy proud.
Please don't say that, ever.
That was weird, even for me.
Please don't ever.
Over here. I'm like,
cringe.
Yeah, gross.
Ugh, nasty. Nasty. You know, there was this one time in college when it was when I was in Belgium where this girl who she was American and was in our, group, she actually, it was the first and I think only time I've ever heard her referred to somebody as a daddy and meant it in a sexual way. And I was like, oh, now I know that you're the type of person that uses that, and I feel even weirder about you.
Do you have her number still? All right,
it's
Mama,
just
come
weird.
on.
Ew, don't. Oh, my God. So gross. Stop. So tonight we are going to talk about a case that was popular when this documentary first came out on Netflix, and it is pretty popular again based on some recent events. Jen, did you ever watch the documentary called Audrey and Daisy?
No.
Ooh.
I've never heard of it.
Really?
Yeah. What is it about?
It came out, I want to say 2 years ago.
I never heard it either before this.
Really?
I
actually specifically remember asking you if you wanted to watch it, or maybe I was watching it one weekend morning, and you're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're watching this. This is depressing."
Oh, really?
I really remember watching it for the first time. It had just come out, and I had heard a whole lot of buzz from it. It was a Sundance Film Festival, debut, premiered, whatever. I don't really know how film festivals work. And it had gotten a lot of positive press. So I was really excited to watch it. And I had not watched it since until yesterday morning. Is that when we watched this?
No.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Yesterday morning.
Yeah. We was like, what day is it? Until we watched it. John watched it with me yesterday and forgot just how just fucked up the whole thing is. But it is about sexual assault of 2 girls and 2 different stories. It is a fantastic documentary. I definitely recommend it, Jen.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why we wanted to cover this case is because one of the subjects of the documentary actually just recently committed suicide last week. So it's an important case. It's an important topic. It's always been important, not just because of what's just happened. And so we wanted to talk about it. And we've also got a special guest on our episode, Savannah. She has watched this documentary 6 times.
Wow.
So she's a mother of young girls and thinks that this is an important documentary for girls and boys to watch, because you really get to see how it can be difficult to say when you've been sexually assaulted, what happens as backlash when you are sexually assaulted, and the shame and bullying and just awfulness that the victims can go through as part of this. It's a really, really powerful documentary. So, John, do you want to talk about her suicide, since that is kind of what's bringing this back to the discussion table?
So, guys, if you are new here, I put all my sources and all the photos on talkmurder.com. So be sure to go there. I do want to say, before we kind of go any further, that apparently Daisy, and we talked about this in a little bit, she did have a stalker leading up to the time of her death. So we don't know if that's related to the initial story or not. I could not find the stalker's name, but we do know that Daisy goes to the police the morning that she kills herself because the stalker was showing up at her door, beating on her door. He had put her number on Craigslist with an ad that says, call me for sex and all this stuff. But we don't know the stalker's name. It has not been released, and I'm still trying to find it. But I want to throw that out there just in case someone's like, she didn't kill herself because of the rape or whatever. And we're still trying to go down that and find who the stalker is and everything else.
That's Daisy Coleman. So she was had moved to Colorado, and this whole incident takes place in Missouri, which we'll talk a lot about. But she had moved to Chicago. She was working as a tattoo artist at the time. She had founded an organization that we'll certainly talk a bit about, and she was going through EMDR therapy, which I don't know anything about. I don't know if you've ever...
No, I don't. That doesn't sound familiar.
I know it's like rapid eye movement. They put something in front of your eyes and stuff, and I think it also has to do with sounds. So she was undergoing therapy for her PTSD based on this incident, and seemingly, doing really well. She was also in production for another documentary about her recovery from a really dark time called Saving Daisy, and they do still plan to release that documentary, which is great. I hope they do. So, John, tell us about what you were kind of taught growing up, what's from your perspective, and I don't want to use the word you're a different generation because that sounds really mean. Don't mean it to sound like that.
God.
But you are in a bit of a different generation of the kids in this documentary and today.
And
where
even y'all.
There's social media and texting and sexting all over the place now. But when a girl's drunk at a party, or when this is also they're underage at this point, what's the guy's... What are you taught as a guy growing up? What's right and wrong to handle girls if they maybe get a little too intoxicated?
Well, number one, girls have cooties. So let's just throw that out there.
Well,
so I try
yes.
to stay, a fair distance away from them.
Yes, this is true.
The most powerful thing that I heard in that documentary was, I can't remember who said it, but the woman said basically Daisy was raped by the wrong boy, meaning that
What?
she was raped by the what was it? He was a judge, an honorable judge or something.
He was a state representative. He was
representative.
The guy's or Matt Barnett's grandfather.
Yeah, and a political figure, and very powerful in the community. So, she was raped by the wrong boy, obviously, because they walked completely free. And the more we dug into it, it almost warrants a real trial because it was not handled right.
So first, I want to start by reading a statement that was posted after Daisy Coleman took her own life about a week ago. We are devastated to share with all of our inspiring supporters that we have suffered an irreplaceable loss. Our co-founder and sister, Daisy Coleman, ended her life by suicide today. As many of you know, she struggled with healing for many years and had been making incredible progress, but healing is never a straight path and can often have setbacks. But she would want you all to know how much she loved this work and all of you who have joined us in it. Nothing inspired her more than knowing that she could help other survivors and work to prevent sexual violence. We want you to know that our entire team is here to support you as we all grieve this loss. We want to remember Daisy for the incredible person she was and the legacy she's given us with Safe Bay. We will continue to do the work she was so proud of and dedicated to building. We will be posting pictures of her in her element, beautiful, proud, brave, outspoken, badass Daisy.
Just from the pictures that you showed me, I mean, those words definitely seem to describe her. Like, if I was looking at a picture and I read those words, I would say, yeah, that seems accurate. I mean, I don't know anything about her yet, but...
Well, she was 23 when she killed herself, which is sad.
And this incident happened when she was 14. So...
So that was, what, 8 years? I'm not good at math. 7 years?
9 years.
9 years?
9. Mm-hmm.
It would have been a lot sooner because she had tried to kill herself numerous times. The brother talks about finding her with her wrist cut, overdosed. There's been numerous occasions when she tried. So now she was successful at the suicide.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for this stalker, I mean, she was on to great things, and not that she moved on. I will certainly not say that because you'll understand why in a little bit. She turned an awful situation into something amazing and empowering, and helped so many other girls. So, and she can still help a lot of girls. Catherine Daisy Coleman. She was born March 30th, 1997, and passed August 4th, 2020. Coleman was born to Melinda and Michael Coleman. Her mother was a veterinarian, and she supported the family while her husband Michael went through med school, residency, etc. And she joked in the documentary Audrey and Daisy that she had babies every 20 months. So Audrey was one of 4, but she was the only girl, so she had 3 brothers. Charlie, who is her oldest brother, was featured quite a bit in the documentary, but she also had 2 other brothers who were not featured in the documentary. So her father was a physician, and he tragically died in a car accident in 2009. The car had skidded over black ice and flipped into a ravine. The rest of the kids in the car did survive.
I want to say right quick that apparently when you slide on ice, what they call hydroplaning, I guess.
On water, yeah.
Yeah, on water or ice, you actually double your speed. So if you're going 60 or 70 miles an hour, now you're going 140 miles an hour. It's a rough estimate, but you accelerate the car because there's no grip anymore.
Yeah, there's no traction because you're not on the road, you're on the surface.
Her brother Charlie was a classmate of her rapist, Daisy's rapist, Matt Barnett. So we'll talk about all those who were involved in this. Her other 2 brothers, like I said, they were not in the documentary, but her youngest brother, Tristan also died in a car accident much more recently in 2018 when he was just 18. So really, really tragic.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what the mother. Oh my God.
I know.
Jeez.
So the family lived in Albany, Missouri until not long after their father, Michael, died in that car accident. They wanted something new. They wanted to be close enough where they could see their friends if they wanted to, but they decided to move to Maryville, Missouri, which was about an hour away. So it was a little bit of a bigger town, considered very safe to live in, excellent sports teams, and at least for their older brother, Charlie, it seemed like it would be the perfect town. But it was almost like the town turned against them.
Oh, no. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Now, the documentary is called Audrey and Daisy. Who is Audrey? Or does that matter? Are we going to talk about that?
We will talk about Audrey. That's a great question. So while Daisy is kind of top of mind right now, we will still cover Audrey's story.
So the documentary goes over two different cases, and they don't know each other at all. So it's like
they're not
related at all.
Totally unrelated, but you'll see similarities, and it's interesting because it's almost like the Daisy story shows the survival aspect, whereas Audrey's almost doesn't.
So it's more of a documentary about kind of like rape culture or sexual assault culture.
Yes.
You know, I've seen that word a lot lately doing this story. I've never seen that word before, probably because I'm a guy, but rape culture, I've never seen that until I started doing this story, rape culture. And I was like, what is that? You know, it just sounds so weird, doesn't it? Rape culture.
I mean, rape is weird.
I know, but like having a culture, you know?
Well, I think it's, helped in part by the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
But
I just never seen that word before.
Stigmatized. And we'll talk a lot about the sheriff and what he thinks about the word.
Yeah. I just never seen that before. Yeah. And it's probably because I'm a guy. And so if I see something about this in the news, I'm probably not going to go read it and stuff. You know, not that I don't care about it, but I'm a guy.
Well, so. It affects, probably shouldn't, but it does. I feel like it affects men differently than it does women.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, hell
because women, I feel and I'm not saying that men cannot be victims, but more likely women are victims, so they feel, we might feel more inclined to read up on it. Does that make sense?
Well, it is 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted.
Right.
So this is an article that she wrote to
XO Jane.
XO Jane, thank you. And it is what happened from her perspective, in her words, to this article, or to this magazine. Paige is my best friend. Watching scary movies was always our thing. So that's how we kicked off our night, along with alcoholic beverages. My mom didn't know we were drinking, and I was not supposed to be.
She was 14?
Mm-hmm. That night I was texting with a boy that my older brother had warned me about, but I didn't listen. Looking back, I wish I did. It wasn't until later that night that Matt, a popular senior boy, had asked to hang out. Of course, I knew my brothers wouldn't allow this, so we had to sneak out. It was about 1 a.m. when my friend and I climbed out of my bedroom window. I was not interested in Matt romantically. I considered him my older brother's friend.
Can I just say one thing right quick, Nicole? Yeah. As she just read from the article, just to reiterate, Daisy is a sister of Charlie, and Charlie is older, and he is in the same grade as Matt Barnett, the guy that will eventually rape Daisy. So it's basically Matt Barnett, because he's such a fantastic guy, behind his best friend's back, he is texting his younger sister. That's what type of guy this is.
Well, he wasn't. Matt and
but they
Charlie,
were on the same team.
They knew each other, but he was best friends with some of the other guys that was there.
Yeah.
But he was very cautious. Charlie did not like Matt before this happened.
So Matt Barnett, the rapist, is texting this 14-year-old girl. It's fucking gross, dude.
I mean, 17 and 14. Yeah.
No, dude, I remember being 17. I would never text a fucking 14-year-old.
That's like senior versus freshman.
My family would be like, what the fuck are you doing, you pedophile? Like, are you fucking high? This dude makes me fucking absolutely sick.
I mean,
he needs to be castrated.
It's one thing if you're in college and you're a senior and a freshman, which is still kind of weird, but like you're both adults in that scenario. Right. But she's like literally a child, and you've already gone through puberty, and like you're like about to embark on your life as a whatever, you're a football player or whatever. Like no, like she's a kid, she's a child,
and her friend Paige is 13 and in 8th grade. Who she's with,
and these 17-year-olds, which are basically
high school
adults,
seniors,
high school seniors are hanging out with a fucking 13 and a 14-year-old,
an 8th grader and a freshman.
So when Nicole goes over all these guys and their real names, and we give out their real addresses and phone numbers and put all this stuff on there, it's for one reason, because these guys are walking on the streets. Some of them have girlfriends and wives, and they need to be outed as what they are, fucking pedophilic sex offenders.
Their name should be as known. I mean, it's important to know the victims' names. Mm-hmm. Of course, Daisy Coleman is a name that I want everybody to know and remember. In addition to Paige Parkhurst, their voices and stories need to be heard. But you also need to know that Matt Barnett is a rapist. Nicholas Grammatis, Jordan Zeck, Cole Forney were all present,
and they're younger than us, right? They're like
Daisy is certainly younger than us. Yeah, they're a little bit young. They would be a little bit younger than us too. Younger? Yeah, they would be about 2 or 3 years younger than us. 2 years younger. Yeah. Matt picked us up in a black car and drove us to his house. He had to sneak us through the basement window. There were bedrooms and a living room area in the basement. I sat on the couch and gathered familiar faces from the room. 4 of Matt's friends were there. Matt emerged from one of the bedrooms with a bottle of clear alcohol he wanted me to drink. This is when one of Matt's friends suggested I drink from a tall shot glass, which they labeled the bitch cup.
You have to be snuck through a basement window. That's probably not going to be a good time.
Yeah, no shit.
Also, the bitch cup? Like, kids are so stupid.
And in the documentary, she estimates that she was drunk before she left, right? Because they were drinking. Right. And she estimates that she probably had about 11 shots while she was there.
11?
Yeah.
Because it was pure alcohol in the bitch cup.
The bitch cup is like 5 shots.
They were kind of taunting her. And she's like, I've got all brothers. I'm not going to take this shit. And she, drank the booze.
I don't even think that I could do 11 shots now.
Yeah, Matt Barnett was basically trying to get her hammered so he can rape her. He's like, he's getting all horny. Yeah, take the shot.
Gross.
They thought it was funny.
Wait.
They thought it was funny to humiliate a freshman.
They did, but mostly it was Matt Barnett. It's like, I want to rape her. I can't wait. Take the shot. I can't wait to rape you. But that's basically what he was doing. Why else would you give a fucking 14-year-old 5 or 6 shots 11. In a row? 11 shots. That's what he's thinking. He's like, man, if she gets drunk, I can fucking rape her. Dude, is fucking serious?
About 5 shots tall, I drank it. I guess I didn't know how badly it would mess me up, but the boys who gave it to me did. Then it was like I fell into a dark abyss. No light anywhere, just dark, dense silence, and cold. That's all I could ever remember from that night. Apparently, I was there for not even an hour before they discarded me in the snow.
They threw her in the snow. They took her back home and threw her in the front yard.
So she was so intoxicated that she could not speak and form sentences, and she couldn't stand and walk on her own. So when they dropped her off, so remember, this is a span of less than an hour that they're there. So she's having 5 to 11 shots, guesstimating, while she was there when she was already drunk. She is too drunk to speak and form sentences and walk on her own.
So she can't give consent.
So
Well, she's not
Exactly.
old enough to give consent, technically, right?
In the state of Missouri, the age of consent is 14.
Oh, so she was technically.
So she was technically,
Yeah, but she's
the
not
age
good.
You
of
can't,
consent.
if you're all fucked up, you can't give consent.
Exactly. So that is the whole crux of the case.
Well, even if she could, even if she had alcohol in her system, if she literally cannot form sentences or stand,
So Paige goes into the house. Now she is separated because Paige is raped while she is there as well by the minor who is there, who is 15. So Paige, who is 13, is raped by the unnamed male who is 15 who's at the house. We don't know who that person is.
Jesus.
And so Paige does make it inside, but Daisy is asleep in the snow.
Left to die.
essentially, yeah.
That is attempted murder because the sheriff will say she's very lucky, and we'll read the quote that he said in a minute, but she's very lucky that she didn't die because a lot of people do. So throwing her out there, they wanted her to just die.
Well,
probably.
yeah. Think back to the Shanika Jenkins story where she ended up in the freezer and died.
Yep. So it's probably, so if they snuck her out at 1 a.m, it's probably about 2 a.m. by the time she is back in front of the house.
Like discarded like a piece of trash. Matt Barnett's like, I done raped her. Fuck it. I've like a used Kleenex.
Oh, gross.
I've done what I wanted to with this.
And they carried her back out the basement window. You know what I mean? So
Threw her into on her front lawn. Here you go. Take this. Sorry, this guy makes me fucking sick. Yeah. And I cover a lot of sick people, dude. And this guy is on the top of the list.
So this is from the Daily Mail from
I
2000,
love the Daily Mail.
from October 17th, 2000.
Oh shit, sorry.
From October 17th, 2013. In recent days, the Barnett family has come under intense scrutiny, particularly Matthew's grandfather, Rex Barnett, who used to sit in the Missouri House of Representatives. He has denied using his influence to have the charges against the boys in this case dropped. But in an interview, he simply dismissed the events of the night as a case of incorrigible teenagers just doing what they wanted to do. That's a quote. Adding, there weren't any consequences, quote. Matthew's father, 52, added, there are hundreds of cases across the nation. My kid is being assassinated. The way this has all been spun up, for example, my son being a football star, he was not a football star. He was a backup.
Matt Barnett,
Wow.
the bench warmer rapist. His name is Rex Barnett. He served 32 years with the Missouri Highway Patrol, Troop H. And in 1994, he was elected as state representative. He was a Republican serving 4 terms before leaving the House in 2002. He also has political ties to the prosecutor of the case, the one that decided it's best to drop the case altogether. Barnett's granddaughter worked as a volunteer on the campaign of U.S. Representative Sam Graves, who also employs Rice's sister as an aide in constituent services.
The fact that, like, the prosecutor didn't recuse themselves, that's, I mean, we haven't gotten there yet, but
They should open the case back up and have it done correctly.
Now,
Yeah.
I will say they did have another jurisdiction review it because this case got huge. Anonymous blasted this town for their cover-up, and so they did
like
take a
the
second
organization
look.
Anonymous.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And so they did have a second prosecutor in a different jurisdiction review the case, and it didn't yield a much better outcome.
So going back to the night they threw her in the snow, the sheriff, which I can't believe he retained his officeship after the documentary, and apparently he's up and running for re-election currently.
Wonderful. Well, we haven't even gotten into how bad he is yet.
Oh, have you seen his re-election Facebook page?
Yeah, he's such
Oh my
a swell
God.
guy.
Yeah, everyone's just bombarding his Facebook page with pictures of Daisy. I mean,
Good.
As they should.
yeah, no, I know. But, and I'll
Yeah.
put that on the website, obviously, for y'all to do the same. But I do want to say, he said, quote, "We're very lucky," the sheriff told the newspaper in nearby St. Joseph. "It was very cold in the 30s, and people die laying out in the cold like that." So these boys basically left her to die. They left her for dead. She could have died.
Oh, yeah.
And
She's very lucky that
She
didn't.
could have died. And you know what? The case would have turned out probably the exact same. They probably would not have been charged with anything if she did
maybe.
die.
And didn't
So-
they say in the documentary that when Daisy's mom found her, her hair was frozen to the ground?
Yes. Yes, they did.
And I mean, of course this documentary was awful to watch before I was a mother, but now that, and it should be to anybody, but now that I have 3 daughters, I just can't imagine walking outside and finding your daughter almost frozen to the ground.
And I'm reading this from the Kansas City Star, October 12th, 2013. It says about Matthew Barnett. It says, quote, "2 of the rapists are now members of Northwest Missouri State University athletic teams," which they did drop out. "And Barnett is enrolled at the University of Central Missouri, his grandfather's alma mater."
No, I don't think the other boys dropped out. I think only Matt did.
Oh, only Matt did. Based on his Twitter account, this is the rapist, Matt Barnett. Based on Matt Barnett's Twitter account before it was locked to non-friends, the events of the past 2 years haven't dampened his enthusiasm for the opposite sex. In a recent retweet, he expressed his views on women and their desire for his sexual attentions this way. Quote, "If her name begins with A, B, D, C," all the letters of the alphabet spelled out. "If her name begins with any of those letters, comma, she wants the D," and D is capitalized. So that is the guy that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So has he learned anything?
No.
No, and they're not going
exactly.
to learn anything because they get away with it.
I skipped C. Okay.
No, you said
you
C after D.
Yeah.
A, B, D, C.
I was like,
I was thinking of ACDC.
Yeah,
Sure you were. Sure.
AVDC.
Oh, boy. Matt Barnett is obviously the one who raped Daisy, but there are others who were present. Like we said, there were a lot of her older brother Charlie's classmates that were there.
And
So-
wasn't her best friend also raped that night?
Yes, her best
The girl
friend
that went with her?
Paige was also raped. So there were 4 boys.
Well, Paige was her name.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So there were
And she was 13.
Yes. So there were 4 boys, plus another unnamed boy who was also a minor. So there was Matt Barnett, Nicholas Grammatis, Jordan Zeck, and Cole Forney. So those were all boys that were, 17, 18 years old, seniors and peers of Daisy's older brother, Charlie. There was another boy who is unnamed because he was 15 and was also a minor. And that 15-year-old raped Daisy's friend Paige, who was 13 at the time.
How old was Matthew Barnett at the time?
17.
Oh, my God.
And he stated in his interrogation video that he knew that Daisy was 14. Now, the age of consent in the state of Missouri is 14. That's the biggest reason why they didn't pursue the case.
That's the biggest reason, or the fact
Well,
that...
no. That's what they were able to say, is that the age of consent is here, and they were supposedly unable to prove that she was that intoxicated prior to having sex with Matt, or prior to being raped by Matt is really the appropriate word.
yeah, really.
I do want to play a couple of clips. They contest that her blood alcohol level, that they wouldn't have known, or that she couldn't have been that drunk and she was consenting for the sexual act. But according to the medical records, her blood alcohol content had to have been very close to blood poisoning level.
About 10 till 5 in the morning, I heard something outside. And we got to the front door, and Daisy was laying in the yard. She had just sweatpants and a t-shirt on, and her hair was wet, and it was frozen to the ground. And we carried her in and wrapped her in a blanket, and we were trying to warm her up. And she was not unconscious, but not really conscious. She couldn't speak. She couldn't really move or answer any questions. So I started filling my tub up with like cool water, and I had started to kind of undress her, and I noticed that she was really, really red in places, like in her groin and thigh area. That was the thing that kind of made me think maybe something else had happened. We did do a blood alcohol level on her. It came back 134.9. I mean, it tells very clearly that at the time they dropped her in the yard, just based on half-life, she had to be close to comatose. She had to have been close to blood poison level.
I don't know what the BAC translation to that, but I did see in another post that it was about 0.13 BAC. That's what that translates to. Again, still hours later. So that's huge. That's that would be a very serious blood alcohol level. Even when the mom finds her, she still can't really walk or speak on her own. You know what I mean? Like, that shows how drunk she must have been.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention she's been laying out in the snow for hours.
Yeah.
It's lucky that her mom thought to, like, had a familiarity of, like, how to take care of her, because if I found my daughter in the snow, I don't know what I would do. Well, I mean, obviously I would probably, like, take her to the hospital right away, but at least she had the wherewithal to put her in the cool water and try to get her back up to normal, because, some people don't know how to take care of temperature and stuff. Like, I don't know if in that
I wouldn't
moment,
have known that.
In that moment, I feel like I learned that before when I was in athletic training school, but I don't know if I would think of that. I would be like, oh my God, get her in a hot shower, and then, but then that would put her in a state of shock, and I don't know.
And so it's interesting. At the start of this documentary, I thought, wow, I kind of forgot some of, the atrocities of this documentary, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, they interviewed these kids real quick. They roped them up. Good job, good job, police. And I actually think that whoever did the interrogation was pretty darn good. He played good cop, bad cop all by himself.
Yeah, he was really good.
So I wanted to play a clip of that too. Hang on.
Why don't you tell me about the party last night in your basement?
There was 3 guys there to begin with.
Okay, who was that?
I don't know, like give names out.
Okay, that's fine.
And we're all just chilling there, just watching Netflix. But I'm assuming that this is about. Yeah.
Okay.
She came over. She texted me, wanted to hang out, and she came over, and we picked them up, and
Them.
She had a friend with her. I don't know her friend's name.
Okay, that's cool.
And then we came back to my house and just chilled there for a little bit, but they'd been drinking at their house, at house. And then when she got there, I started hanging out for a while. She got really bad, started to cry, and then she wanted to go home. And whenever we bring her home, she didn't. She was just crying and she didn't want to walk or anything.
Right.
So we brought him up there and sat on the side.
Right.
And she said she would take care of her, just leave her, and she was just going to stay there until she starts feeling better. And
Well, that's cool.
Inside.
Yeah, you got them safely home, that's good.
You got him safely home. That's good. Good cop.
Yeah, he sounds really intelligent.
The kid sounds like a moron. What are you talking about?
You think he sounds intelligent? Why do you think that?
as being sarcastic.
Oh.
I was about to say.
I was like, really?
This
You think
kid-
he's like got this whole thing? I did think
He
it was
sounds like a
interesting.
box of rocks, dude.
Yeah, like he
And
literally
then,
can
like-
barely get any words out. He's
and,
like
like-
mumbling and everything, and I
and, like,
mumble, but
then-
you can hardly. He's intelligible. Is
And,
really what
like-
it
He
is.
he thought of a really good story though about her being upset and crying, and that's why she was too upset to walk.
She was too upset to walk because,
Like a caveman.
Yes.
When you picked her up at her house, was she drunk?
I won't say drunk. I say
Buzzed.
Yeah, buzzed.
Did she drink some at your house?
Yeah, a little bit.
Alcohol
Yeah, just
in
a
your
little
basement? Okay, yeah, that's cool.
It was.
I'm not here to
Yeah.
throw stones. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get to the bottom line.
I think she only had like 2 shots.
Oh my
At your
gosh.
house.
Only 2 shots. Like, you mean 2 bitch cups full of like
Right.
12
Yeah.
shots? Like,
Well, you probably can't count
That's
right.
because he's like
Not
Fred Flintstone.
a. Yeah. He's not a football star either. He just plays bench.
He's a bitch.
So
The
that
bitch rapist.
You did.
I just want to say right quick, when he says, when we were having sex, I mean, that seems like both parties
Yeah,
are
no,
in
when
it.
you were having
When
sex.
you were having sex
When you were
with
raping her.
a unconscious 14-year-old. I just wanted to correct his language.
Yeah.
This guy should be on Chris Hansen,
Yeah, How to Catch a Predator.
Catch a Predator. Great show, by the way.
I mean, he admitted right then and there that he had sex with a 14-year-old, and he knew that she was 14. He certainly arranged the story. The only thing that I think the interrogator didn't do great is I felt like he was leading him on a couple of questions, which was like, did she say no before you had sex with her? And was she drunk out of her mind? It almost felt like he led him a little bit, but overall I thought he did a good job in the way that he got him to talk.
This is the thing that always comes up is how drunk were they? Were they too drunk? Did they say no? Were they too drunk to say no? You know, it's always the questions about what they did.
Exactly. And and Daisy says she blacked out, and sometimes when you black out, you go on autopilot, and you really have no idea what you are doing.
I mean, she was so drunk, she slept on the ground all night outside of her house in freezing temperatures.
Right. Exactly. That is exactly to say, how drunk was she? She was drunk enough where she was totally fine sleeping outside in the snow.
Can you imagine if this guy gets married and has a daughter or something? I mean, and he's going to try to hide it from his wife or whatever.
You cannot hide this name. I mean, it's a common name. I don't know.
But he's probably gonna convince her that he's different now and that he wouldn't do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, were they too drunk to say no? It's like, I feel like when I was that age, I wouldn't know what I'm saying no to. Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I know, in middle school they had their, like, in 8th grade we had our, human body, like, little video health thing. But I wouldn't understand that. I would have no idea. And
also when you're in that situation, you like freeze almost. You're like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Relationship Hero. Relationship Hero is a company founded with a mission of helping people successfully overcome their relationship challenges. Relationship Hero matches you with coaches who specialize in areas where you need help, and their coaches provide actionable advice that's personalized to your situation. They are especially great at helping you write the best text to send to your significant other. Their coaches are fantastic, certified, and available 24/7 for ongoing support along your journey. Relationship Hero helps thousands of people every day navigate their dating, relationships, breakups, and more. There's also classes and group coaching to help you navigate the wild world of dating in today's world, like how to spot the red flags of a narcissist, something you may want to brush up on with all your true crime listening. or get personalized coaching about your relationship and situation with one-on-one consulting. Relationship Hero is the #1 relationship coaching service. Go to relationshiphero.com/murder to not only support Talk Murder to Me, but to get $50 off your first 1-hour coaching session. That's relationshiphero.com/murder. So there was also a potential video of this, which would have certainly helped prove the case. So apparently Nick Grammatis' cell phone was used, and I'm using all their names because just like Brock Turner, everybody should, I know it's all about the victim, Daisy Coleman, Audrey Pott, and it's important to say their names, Paige Parkhurst as a victim, but you should also know if you who these monsters are.
And besides the documentary, any names need to be told. Like, there's so many still out there that people haven't called out for the BS that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And if their names were out there and people actually believed them, things like this could probably be prevented more.
Yep, that's right. Because I think, it's not going to get out there. It's not going to hurt my employer. It's not going to hurt, all of these opportunities. But you start putting the names out there, it just might.
Especially if they think that when, I was only 15, I was only, 17, I was just a stupid kid. Like, no.
It matters no matter how old you are.
Yeah, exactly.
What you do. So Nick Grammatis' cell phone was used to record a video, but he claimed that he thought they were just dry humping. But in the interrogation video, he says that both of their pants were off. So yes, that he acknowledged that they were nude. But he did delete the video after it was reportedly passed around school. In the interrogation video, only the 4 people or 5 people who were at the house saw the video, so that's a little unclear. But that was never retrieved by law enforcement. Even with forensics, they couldn't retrieve the video from the phone. They had the phone, but they couldn't get it.
It's crazy with that many people passing it around that it disappeared. Like, that all of them actually deleted it or got rid of it somehow. I just really wonder how well they searched for it.
Well, I mean, and this is back in, what year was this? 2009?
2013.
2013. So when, I mean, it's one thing to send a file back then, but now, today, it's so much easier to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with at the school a couple different cases where there were pictures of one of the students that people they'll just airdrop. Like, one of the students, a student will be in the cafeteria and just airdrop it to anyone.
Oh my god!
And
what? Airdrop what?
Nude photos.
Nude photos
Of himself or herself?
No, of a student.
They took it. Somebody sent a picture, and they sent it around,
and everyone gets it. Yeah, one of my students, it happened on the bus. Like, someone airdropped photos to everyone that was on the bus. And
I would not want to be a kid in today's world. I would absolutely not.
It's crazy.
That's part of the reason why I don't want to have kids. Is I cannot imagine raising a child in a world that does all of this stuff. Oh, no way.
Well, I guess, it was all over that school.
Well, I guess they're implying that it never left that cell phone. It wasn't sent anywhere.
Oh, it was only on that cell phone.
Supposedly. Whether that's true or not, I'm not really sure. But that's the story. So, like I said, I was thinking, forgetting that I had seen this documentary before, wow, the interrogator did a really good job, getting this guy to talk and admit some things. That's great. And then we get into insert foot in mouth over and over and over. The sheriff. Darren White. Re-elect Darren White. Just kidding. Don't re-elect Darren White.
Is
please.
He still a sheriff?
Yeah, but he's going up for re-election, and there's a guy named I think Randy Strong is the opponent, and hopefully he wins. because one of his, and I did a little bit of research on his campaign. One of the positions he's taking is the sexual abuse angle, to try to stop that, lower that a little bit. And then this guy, Darren White, what a fucking idiot. I mean, this guy needs to be given parking tickets after the documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to be given parking
even
tickets.
Being Paul Blart is
Paul Blart.
too
He
good
looks
for
like
him.
Paul Blart. I would not even trust this guy to be a meter reader. Literally.
Lovely meter maid.
He would fuck it up somehow. Somehow he would fuck it up.
We'll read them.
And lose the city money. Somehow this guy would fuck up counting quarters.
One of the parts that people have really blown out of proportion in this entire case
This is the sheriff.
is that everybody wants to throw the word rape out there. It's very popular. The rape, the Maryville rape, the Coleman rape. Nothing that occurred that night ever rose to the level of the elements of the crime of rape.
So what does he think it was? What does he think it was?
He's just ignorant. He is one of those people who thinks women are liars and that, boys will be boys. That is his mentality.
Whether we agree with this or not, the people of that age in the state of Missouri can have consensual sex. Forcible compulsion is the primary component of the crime of rape. It's just not there.
So forcible compulsion doesn't apply if you have sex with somebody who's unconscious or semi-conscious?
Well, see, now that's a whole another element for lawyers and legislators and people like that to figure out.
Isn't it your job as sheriff to arrest people for committing a crime?
Which he claims he did do. They rounded up the kids within 4 hours of, the crime. But it's, this is where you really have to think about the elements of the case. And a second prosecutor did also deny that, or denied pressing charges on sexual assault. But because of the lack of evidence, supposedly.
What about her blood alcohol content level?
Exactly.
Is that not evidence?
So I know. You would think that knowing that she was there for an hour.
Not if you're the bench rapist.
But if she is there for an hour and her blood alcohol content was that high, I would think that is enough evidence, in addition to, I don't know, a personal fucking testimony that this happened to me, and she had a witness page.
But not just that,
right?
in the interrogation, the kid said that she was drunk.
He said that she was buzzed and had maybe one or two more shots.
It doesn't matter. She's under the influence of alcohol. She cannot consent.
I know.
This I need to watch this documentary. This is enraging.
Yeah, it is. It really is. If it were tried in front of a jury, I do think he would have gotten a conviction, because in less than an hour, her blood alcohol content was near blood poisoning levels. To say, oh, she got drunk after they had sex. That's what they're trying to say, basically, is that she got blasted after. And that's why they're not going to pursue those charges. So this is oh my God, this drove me nuts in particular, because this is a pet peeve of mine as well. When he says people throw around the word rape, people don't use the word rape enough. Instead, it's softened by sexual assault, and you don't really understand what actually happened. It was rape. It was rape what happened to Paige. It was rape what happened to Daisy. The other case that happened to Audrey was sexual assault. Different. But we need to be very specific when we use those words and call rapists what they are. Ugh. Yes. Drives me nuts. It really irks me.
You know what we should do? You remember Inglourious Bastards, where they carved the Nazi swastika on the face?
Yeah.
They should carve the word rapist on his forehead.
They should
Well, you know
brand
what's
it.
actually very interesting that you just said that. This reminds me of, so when we talk about the Audrey case in a little bit, and what happened there, they called it very much like or really both of them, like the Crucible, or no, not the Crucible, the Scarlet Letter. Like they wore their, you know, their shame on them, and these men don't. They want to move on, is what you're the
because
sheriff
they're not ashamed.
talk about. And also, this also irks me because I don't think that this would have happened in the same way had the boys not been white also.
Agreed.
That's an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting point, and I do not disagree with you.
Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, but if it was a Latino or an African American, ooh, that kid would be behind bars and his life would be over. But we don't want to, just like Brock Turner, we don't want to ruin his chance at life or whatever, you know, they said about that kid. We don't want to ruin his career. Fuck you, Brock Turner.
Yeah. God.
We've been in quarantine longer than Brock Turner was in jail. Think about that.
As near as I can tell, the boys are the only ones that have decided that they want to put this behind them.
Oh, okay.
And try to move on with their lives and try to make something of themselves.
I bet they do.
Oh, good for them.
I think that all of them, with the exception of the one that's a juvenile who's still in high school, and I think that he's doing just fine, but I think all of the
doing
boys
just fine.
are
Wow.
going to college.
Did you hear that, Savannah?
and
They're doing
working
just fine.
and trying to do better.
I wonder why they wouldn't want to put this behind them. Like,
Right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that committed the fucking crime. Of course they want to sweep it under the rug and put it
they're
all
still
behind
bragging
them.
about it. Fucking, if your name starts with A through Z, then you want the D. Put it behind them. We'll put it behind them. We'll put it in front of them. They want to tell everyone. I mean, holy shit, dude.
And they're going to college.
You know what? Why are we talking about Audrey and now Daisy's suicide when, you know what? These boys were doing just fine. Isn't that amazing? These boys were doing just fine. Why am I not hearing about their suicides from feeling so awful about this?
It's because the girls didn't want to put it behind them.
I think it has something to do with the fact that in our culture in the United States, and I don't know what it's like all over the world, but, you know, sexual conquest seems to be the pinnacle of achievement. Like, everything is sexualized. And this is not like an abstinence PSA or anything like that, but, you know, like, for teenagers, it's like, oh, like for guys, it's like, oh, did you hit that? You're gonna hit that. Like, it's sex is everything.
It was all, I mean, I really have to think back on it now because of how long ago it was, but even through my freshman year of college, it was all anybody talked about: who was having sex and who wasn't having sex, and when are you gonna have sex, or who's a virgin, who's not a virgin. Like, that was all anyone fucking talked about.
You know what? It's
and
crazy.
It still is. Like,
Yeah.
like, what is it about sex? Why is it sex so magical? Like, what
It's
is
not.
it? Exactly. Well, I wouldn't know that, but I, you know, like,
What the hell does that mean? What the
Sorry.
fuck? It's not. Well, I'm just
That didn't sound.
I'm just
you know
gonna
what I
start
mean.
jerking it more than.
Hey.
Well,
like-
sex isn't magical. I'm gonna jerk
No,
it.
I'm just saying, like, it is not something like kids make it out to be this, like, oh, it's
everyone's
all
trying
this
to grow up
thing.
too fast and like make it. I don't
Or
know
there's
what it is.
pressure. There's so much
Yes.
pressure,
But
and I
why?
remember being made feel felt bad about not having had sex because I was 19, and I remember being made to feel pretty low about myself because I hadn't.
Yeah, but you can only have sex with one person because, like, when you're growing up in school, in college, whatever, if a girl has sex with one person, then you're good. But if you have sex with 10 guys, then you're a slut.
But if guys
But
have
if guys have sex with one girl, then it's like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Or
but
if they don't
he
have
has,
sex at all, then God forbid.
If he has
Yeah.
sex with 10 guys, then it's like, wow, dude, you're cool. I want to be like you.
You mean 10 girls.
10
I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat, I guess now.
That was
But
a
I mean, it just
Freudian slip. Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think I was ever made to feel bad about not having sex, but it's still.
I had a roommate in college. She made me feel like I was.
Well, let me find her. I'll cut a bitch for you.
Oh yeah, we talked about her once. Her name was Nicole.
Oh right.
And this is one of one of the real fatal flaws of our society is that it's always the boys, and it's not always the boys. The girls have as much culpability in this world as boys do. So, everybody has to take their part of it, and everybody has to do better.
I absolutely agree. In this particular case, though, the crimes were committed by boys.
Were they?
Wow.
And he laughs about it.
My God. So to top it all off, right? So, I mean, this guy, yeah, he's up for re-election, Missourians. So not only does he say these things, but in an article that I read later, the director says, God, he slipped a note to the camera that said, "Teenage girls lie."
What?
That is according to an interview from the director. I mean,
And what makes me the most mad about him is not just the stuff he says, but that there are men and women who think just like this man.
Oh
that
yeah.
if a girl was drinking, she got what was coming to her because she was drunk. If it happened and she wasn't drunk, it's because her skirt was too short, or she went out with the wrong guy. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's always their fault.
When did girls, why are we always like the bad person? Why is it always our fault?
Because guys, we look at it just the wrong way. Like as a society,
That's what I'm saying.
Guys are meant to be the sexual like predator type almost, and we are the sorry,
Sally
it happened to
Homemaker.
me. Yeah.
I saw a good Twitter meme or whatever. It said, "Men stop telling girls to go out with better guys, and guys start being better men," or something like
I
that.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about girls with daddy issues.
Yeah.
Why are girls labeled as having daddy issues when it's the men that have messed up?
Like, I think what really drives this case to the boiling point is there was no justice done at all. I mean, they left her out for dead, they raped her, and they got off scot-free. And not only scot-free, but the family was ostracized.
They
out
were
of
literally
Maryville.
run out of town.
They
Their
were run
house
out of
was
town. They burned their house down.
I mean,
What?
it was technically under suspicious circumstances. They
Oh
can't
my
prove
God,
it,
are you
but
fucking kidding me?
It was.
Suspicious
it was
circumstances.
definitely. Yeah, because who's investigating it? The fucking sheriff. So yeah, he's to be trusted. So it talks about just how the most longtime residents are connected, and the Barnett family is one of those longtime families. And this article that I found said, when a reporter visited the Maryville police to obtain copies of Zek's arrest record, for instance, the department employee who pulled the file was the mother of one of the 5 boys at the Barnett home that night. What? That just shouldn't even be allowed. If someone's that close to a case, they shouldn't have access to those police records. I mean, they could contaminate the case. So one of our favorite stories that we ever did on the Talk Murder podcast, author Harry McLean, who spent 4 years living in Nottoway County while researching In Broad Daylight, his best-selling book on the murder of Skidmore bully Ken McElroy and the town cover-up that followed, said, they do tend to revolve around the influence of several families. All those small towns are like that there. There's 4 or 5 or 6 families that carry the weight.
Did you guys know that they did a Drunk History episode about the Ken McElroy story?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was a fantastic story. That's the only story that I think we've ever done that we pulled for the killers. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, the town there in Nottoway County had a bully. And yes, I mean, an adult bully was bullying all these farmers. And he dies in broad daylight. That's why the book's called Broad Daylight. And the entire town was there because this was in the middle of the day, everyone's out doing their thing. Everyone sees this guy get shot, but yet nobody sees him get shot when they're interviewed. That they were looking away, or they looked away for just a second, or they didn't get a clear picture of who the shooter was. Everyone they interviewed would not admit who shot this guy.
When it was given a second look, that prosecutor did not feel like she could bring a charge of sexual assault. She only was able to press charges or move forward with charges on endangerment of a minor, in which Matt Barnett was convicted of and served like 2 years probation.
So basically, he got off the hook.
And Paige's rapist did confess and was convicted in juvenile court, but it was only after a second investigation that Daisy's alleged rapist was convicted of the child endangerment. So, like I said, we were able to find the Facebook page of one of the boys who were there, and Facebook pages of all the family members. And there is one picture who I feel fairly certain.
Yeah, let me see.
Is Matt. But he didn't go to that school and but that number, it was not held by anyone that looks remotely like him. It looks like Matt Barnett. We're not here to just talk about Daisy. I do want to also mention Audrey Pott and her story, because it's another important one to tell. It is another girl who took her own life after this one was an assault. So she's 15 years old at Saratoga High. She's a freshman. On September 3rd, 2012, Pott went to a party with about 10 other teenagers, and she gets drunk at the party. Now, she goes to the party with her very good friend, and unfortunately, her friend, she at one point took her upstairs to try to get her to lay down and sleep it off. Audrey came back downstairs, and at some point, the friend left. So, at some point, 3 or more teenagers sexually assaulted Pott. They used markers to draw and write all over her body, and then photographs were taken and distributed via social media and text. But also, it was interesting. I wish I kind of went into this more on the documentary, that there was also a Yahoo account that was created previously. Like, this is just an existing standing account by other high schoolers where they view naked photos or partially nude photos of other minors. So they get guys will try to get girls to like lift up their shirts or whatever, and they take a picture, and it goes into like this Yahoo account for the Saratoga High boys to look at all the pictures. So the boys that were interviewed in this part of the documentary only went by John B. and John R. because they were minors. Now, I do have the names. I know who they are. I'm going to tell you who the names are. So John B., I'm assuming that's based on the last name initial. John B. is Bronson Barna, and John R. is Vince Rositano. There you have it.
They're not minors no more.
They ain't minors no more. Now, there was another boy who is also involved, and he is, his name is Nicholas Cyrus Gaffori, formerly Saha Gaffori. So he actually changed his name, and I also have the record of him changing his name.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, you better change that thing again, my friend.
Yep.
Because you're getting blasted.
Yep. This is John B. and John R., who, again, we'll say their names, Bronson Barna and Vince Rositano.
Those are just douchey names anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bronson.
Yo, Bronson, what's up? Did you just rape that girl, yo?
Yo, Bronson. Yo, bruh.
Yo, bro. Bro.
No, they say bruh. I can tell.
Bruh. Did you rape that girl, bruh?
Group. This is a bruh group.
Bruh.
And for the record, this is a text exchange between you and a friend. Is that right?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to read from line 18 forward and tell me who's saying what, please, out loud.
My friend said, "So what went down?" I replied, "You can't tell Audrey I told you, okay?" My friend said, "Okay." she passed out, and we colored half her face black and colored all over her body, like her boobs, and it said was here, and in her pants by her vagina it said was here.
So
and
they
it
wrote
said
their
harder
names.
on her leg, and had an arrow to her vagina, and on her back it said anal, and had an arrow down to her ass, and there was just Sharpie everywhere. It was hilarious. Ha 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 ha.
Oh my God.
My friend said, so technically you stripped her and drew everywhere. I said, not just me, all the guys.
What happened next?
I don't remember, but they were saying that there was something inside her, like a marker or something. They weren't sure, and they kept wanting me to check, and I ended up, fingering her.
This is Vince Rositano, ladies and gentlemen.
What did you see John R. do?
Charming guy.
Finger,
This is
For how long?
Bronson talking.
like a second.
What did Audrey do during that time that she was being fingered by John R.?
She said harder, and she liked it.
What?
How do you know she liked it?
She was saying harder and laughing.
So he's saying this after the other guy admitted that, like, they drew all over her and, like, she was not conscious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How many times did you hear her say harder when John R. was fingering her?
8.
8 times. So she said it harder 8 times over a period of a second?
Yes.
How do you do that? Can you say harder 8 times within a second right now?
Check to the form.
Harder, 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 harder.
Right.
Is it possible to say that in a second?
Is this your best estimate?
Okay, then she said it twice in a period of time.
So she didn't
So
say
it's
it at
twice. Right?
Yeah.
So, do you recall telling the police when asked that you did not finger Audrey at all?
Yes.
Was that a lie?
Yes.
Why did you lie to the police?
I was scared. I didn't have my parents there or my attorney. I was trying not to get in trouble.
Have you done that before? Lying to get out of trouble?
Oh. Right to answer that.
Boom.
Boom.
Legit. Like,
yeah.
Good attorney.
Yeah.
Real good
yeah,
attorney.
dude.
So it's kind of hard to tell who is who. But the first one said that he fingered her to get supposedly a marker out of her vagina, and then the other one also admitted to, but said he lied about it at first. So they both said that they did that.
What's their names again?
Vince Rositano and Bronson Barna. Ladies and gentlemen, Saratoga High in California.
And this guy's married now? Holy shit.
You know what? Maybe. I guess at first glance I thought maybe it was his mom.
If that's his girlfriend, we need
I thought
to...
it was his mom, too.
It could be his mom. She looks a little older. The boys were sentenced 30 days of probation because
What?
they were minors and they got to serve them on weekends.
what?
And so the parents, because she killed herself a week later. I mean, she was bullied in high school. She hung herself from the shower.
Oh my God.
So it was very, very quick.
Oh my God.
She just couldn't take it. In her view, her life was over. So she kills herself, and this all happens where the school never expelled them, even though there was a huge petition. So the parents ended up filing a civil suit, and part of the settlement of the civil suit was that they had to do this interview for the documentary.
The justice system is so weird because you really can't get justice for something like that. Even giving anyone a prolonged sentence doesn't change the fact that this poor girl had to go through that and then, died by suicide a week later. And especially if you had one of the kids admit it, reading out a text message, and it's like they had Saturday detention for that.
Mm-hmm. I know.
It just blows my mind. I just don't understand how. What's the age of consent in California?
I don't know, but it was definitely assault. It was just the fact that the boys were minors is why their sentences were so light. I mean, it's a slap on the wrist when you're a minor.
And she kills herself like a week later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it just doesn't.
You definitely have to watch the documentary after this, Jen, because it is like the way that they are talking, and the director at one point asked them like, what did you learn from this? They're just so fucking smug. They didn't learn a damn thing.
One of them says, well, I learned a lot about girls. And then the detective's like, what exactly did you learn about girls? And he's like, girls gossip, and they gossip, and guys are just laid back. That's what they learned. After this girl had killed herself because you and your buddy fingered her and wrote all over her body and took pictures of it, you learned that girls gossip and guys are laid back.
What have you learned about girls?
I mean, girls, you know, they gossip, really. There's a lot of gossip between girls, and, you know, guys are more laid back and don't really care.
And now you're on Facebook with that wife or whoever that probably doesn't even know
Might be his mommy. It might be his mommy, because that might be the only woman who will love you.
And if you hear this, try to come after us, man. Try to get us for slander. We'll fucking put your name all over the fucking universe if you do that.
It's not slanderous, it's true.
Please, if you really want to get famous, fucking send me an email. john@talkmurdermotherfucker.net or .com. john@talkmurder.com.
They like start typing out John Mother.
Talkmurdermotherfucker.net.
Is that mother with an A or with an ER?
Or is it with a U? M-U-T-H-A.
I think I register that. Talkmurdermotherfucker.net.
Yes. It's probably still available.
But anyways, there's something you want to say, Nicole?
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button on whatever podcasting app you use. If you like this story, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're absolutely obsessed with this podcast, want to become our stalker, go to talkmurder.com/join, become a Taco Supremo, get a badass t-shirt, sticker, swag, a lot of love, shout it out all over the place, tell me what story you want me to do. John will research it and dedicate it to you right here on the Talk Murder to Me podcast. My name is Nicole, here with Jen, John, and Savannah. And until next time, good night, Audrey and Daisy.